struggling single mom saw her first love at an airport, not knowing he was now a millionaire CEO. Olivia Parker froze in the middle of the crowded terminal, her coffee cup slipping from her fingers and crashing to the floor. 12 years had passed since she'd seen that face, but she would have recognized him anywhere. The same strong jawline, the same confident stride. As their eyes met across the sea of travelers, time seemed to stand still. She was still the same struggling waitress trying to make ends meet for her son, but he was no longer the boy with big dreams and empty pockets. Now he was Ethan James, CEO of one of the country's fastest-growing tech companies, and he had no idea that the 11-year-old boy waiting for her at home had his eyes. If you're already feeling the pull of this unexpected reunion, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories about love, fate, and second chances that will touch your heart and remind you that life's most meaningful connections often come when we least expect them. Olivia quickly knelt to clean up the spilled coffee, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She hoped he hadn't recognized her, or worse, that he had but chose to keep walking. At 32, she was no longer the confident college sophomore he'd fallen in love with. Years of struggle had left their mark. The perpetual worry lines between her brows, the practical haircut that was easier to maintain, the second-hand clothes chosen for durability rather than style. But as she gathered the soggy napkins, a pair of polished leather shoes appeared in her field of vision. Olivia Parker? She looked up slowly, meeting the eyes she'd once known better than her own. Ethan James, 33, stood before her in a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His dark hair was shorter now, styled with professional precision, but his eyes, those deep blue eyes that had once looked at her with such love, were exactly the same. "Ethan," she managed, straightening up with the wet napkins clutched in her hand. "Hi. Let me help you with that," he said, taking the napkins and depositing them in a nearby trash can. He returned with fresh ones from a coffee kiosk. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." In many ways, she had. Ethan James was a ghost from her past, a past where possibilities had seemed endless, before life had taken such unexpected turns. "I'm fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just surprised. It's been a long time." 12 years, he confirmed, and the fact that he knew the exact time span made her heart skip. "You look great, Liv." The old nickname hit her like a physical blow. No one had called her that in years. "Thanks," she said, suddenly acutely aware of her worn jeans and faded sweater. "You too. I've seen you in the business magazines. Congratulations on all your success." Ethan shrugged, looking almost embarrassed. "Just got lucky with the right idea at the right time." An awkward silence fell between them, filled with the noise of the busy airport, announcements over the PA system, the chatter of travelers, the rolling of suitcases across the polished floor. "Are you traveling somewhere?" Ethan asked finally. Olivia shook her head. "No, I work here. At the restaurant over there." She gestured toward a casual dining spot in the terminal. "Just finished my shift." Something flickered across Ethan's face. Surprise, perhaps, or concern. "I see. And is there a husband?" Olivia finished for him, a hint of defensiveness creeping into her voice. "No, but I have a son, Jake. He's 11. She watched Ethan do the mental math, saw the moment when realization dawned in his eyes. 11 years. They'd broken up 12 years ago. 11, he repeated, his voice carefully neutral. Before he could ask the question hanging in the air between them, an announcement came over the PA system. "Final boarding call for Flight 1457 to San Francisco." Ethan glanced at his watch. "That's me. I have to go." He hesitated, then pulled a business card from his pocket. "But I'd like to talk more. Would you call me? Please." Olivia took the card automatically, her fingers brushing against his. Even that brief contact sent a jolt of electricity through her that she hadn't felt in years. "I'll think about it," she said honestly. Ethan nodded, seeming to understand that was the best he could hope for. "It was really good to see you, Liv." Then he was gone, striding toward his gate, occasionally looking back over his shoulder at her until he disappeared into the crowd. Olivia stood rooted to the spot, the elegant business card burning in her hand. Ethan James, CEO, Horizon Technologies. Below that, a phone number and email address. Such a simple object, yet it represented a collision between her past and present that left her reeling. The bus ride home to her small apartment in the less fashionable part of the city gave her time to think, to remember. She and Ethan had met during their sophomore year of college. He was studying computer science. She was pursuing a degree in education. They'd fallen in love quickly, deeply, with the intensity that only first love can have. For 2 years, they'd been inseparable, making plans for a future together after graduation. Then came the job offer, a prestigious tech internship for Ethan in California. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but it meant being apart for a year. They'd tried long distance, but the separation had been harder than either expected. The calls became less frequent, the silences more pronounced. After 6 months, they'd agreed to take a break. Just temporary, they'd said. But temporary became permanent when Olivia discovered she was pregnant and Ethan, already distant, didn't return her calls. She'd made the decision then to face parenthood alone rather than force Ethan into a life he clearly no longer wanted with her. She dropped out of college, moved in with her mother, and took whatever job she could find while preparing for her baby's arrival. Jake had been born healthy and perfect, with his father's striking blue eyes. As he grew, the resemblance became even more pronounced, the same determined set of his jaw, the same analytical mind, the same dimple in his left cheek when he smiled. Raising him alone had been the hardest thing Olivia had ever done, but also the most rewarding. When she unlocked the door to their apartment, she found Jake at the kitchen table, homework spread out before him, while her mother prepared dinner. "Mom," Jake exclaimed, jumping up to hug her. At 11, he was already reaching her shoulder, growing too quickly for her to keep up with. "I got an A on my science project." "That's amazing, buddy," Olivia said, hugging him tightly, breathing in the familiar scent of his shampoo. "I knew you would." Her mother, Grace, 58, with silver-streaked dark hair and kind eyes creased from years of both laughter and worry, gave her a knowing look over Jake's head. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Olivia. What happened?" Later, after Jake had gone to bed, Olivia sat at the kitchen table with her mother, turning Ethan's business card over and over in her fingers as she recounted their unexpected meeting. "Are you going to call him?" Grace asked, her voice carefully neutral. "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "What would I even say? Hey, remember me? By the way, you have a son you never knew about?" Grace reached across the table to still her daughter's fidgeting hands. "You've carried this secret for 11 years, Olivia. Maybe it's time. He's a CEO now, Mom. A millionaire. He has a whole different life. And Jake deserves to know his father," Grace said gently. "And Ethan deserves to know his son." Olivia knew her mother was right, but the thought of disrupting the careful balance of their lives terrified her. What if Ethan rejected Jake? Or worse, what if he wanted to be part of Jake's life, but then disappeared again when things got difficult? She slept fitfully that night, dreams filled with memories of Ethan as he had been. Young, passionate, full of dreams, interspersed with images of him as she'd seen him today, polished and successful, a stranger in an expensive suit. In the morning, after getting Jake off to school, she called in sick to work. She couldn't face the airport today, couldn't bear the thought of walking past the spot where her past and present had collided so unexpectedly. Instead, she sat on her small balcony with a cup of coffee, Ethan's business card on the table beside her. Finally, gathering her courage, she picked up her phone and dialed the number. He answered on the second ring. "Ethan James." "It's Olivia," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "From yesterday." "Liv," he breathed, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "I wasn't sure you'd call." "Neither was I," she admitted. "But we should talk." "Yes," he agreed. "I'm flying back tomorrow. Could we meet?" They arranged to meet at a quiet cafe near her apartment the following afternoon. After hanging up, Olivia sat for a long time, wondering if she'd made the right decision. But the time for hiding was over. Jake was asking more questions about his father lately, and she'd always promised herself she would never lie to him. The next day, Olivia dressed carefully in her best jeans and a blue blouse that brought out the green in her eyes. She arrived at the cafe early, choosing a table in the corner where they could talk privately. When Ethan walked in, heads turned. Even in more casual clothes, dark jeans and a light gray sweater that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe, he exuded success and confidence. But as he approached her table, she saw uncertainty in his eyes. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, sitting across from her. They ordered coffee, making small talk about the weather and the cafe until their drinks arrived. Then Ethan leaned forward, his expression serious. Olivia, I need to ask. Your son, is he mine? Olivia met his gaze steadily. Yes, Jake is your son. Ethan exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. Why didn't you tell me? I tried, she said quietly. When I first found out, I called you several times. You never called back. After a while, I got the message. Confusion crossed his face. I never got any calls from you after we decided to take a break. I left messages with your roommate, Olivia said. 3 or 4 of them. Understanding dawned in Ethan's eyes. Mark. He never gave me the messages. We had a falling out right around that time. He was jealous of the internship. I moved out and got a new number. He shook his head in disbelief. All these years, I have a son I never knew about because of missed phone calls. The revelation hung between them, a twist of fate that had altered 3 lives irrevocably. Tell me about him, Ethan said finally, his voice thick with emotion. Olivia found herself smiling as she described Jake, his intelligence, his kindness, his passion for science and technology, his stubborn streak that was so like his father's. She showed Ethan photos on her phone, watching as he studied each one with intense concentration. He has my eyes, Ethan said softly. And your dimple, Olivia added. And your brain, definitely. He built his own computer last year from parts he salvaged. Pride flickered across Ethan's face, followed quickly by sadness. I've missed so much. You have, Olivia acknowledged. But he's still young. There's time, if you want to be part of his life. If I want to, Ethan repeated incredulously. Olivia, he's my son. Of course I want to be part of his life. The question is, will you let me? It was the question she'd been dreading. Not because she didn't know the answer, but because saying it out loud would change everything. Yes, she said finally. But we need to take it slowly. Jake doesn't know about you yet, and this will be a lot for him to process. Ethan nodded, relief washing over his features. However you want to handle it. I'll follow your lead. They spent the next 2 hours talking, filling in the gaps of the past 12 years. Ethan told her about his rise in the tech world, how the internship had led to a job, which had led to him starting his own company 5 years ago. Horizon Technologies now employed over 300 people and had offices in 3 cities. Olivia shared her own journey, the struggle of single motherhood, working multiple jobs while taking night classes to finally finish her degree in education, only to find that teaching jobs were scarce and poorly paid. She'd been working at the airport restaurant for the past 3 years, supplementing her income with tutoring on the weekends. It's not what I imagined for my life, she admitted. But Jake is happy and healthy, and that's what matters. As they prepared to leave, Ethan hesitated. When can I meet him? Let me talk to him first, Olivia said. Come for dinner tomorrow night. Nothing fancy, just a chance to get to know each other. Ethan agreed, and they parted with an awkward hug that nonetheless sent the same jolt of electricity through Olivia as their brief touch the day before. That evening, after dinner, Olivia sat Jake down for the conversation she'd been rehearsing in her head all day. Honey, you know how you've been asking about your dad lately? Jake nodded, suddenly alert. Did you find him? Actually, he found me, Olivia said, smiling gently. I ran into him at the airport yesterday. He didn't know about you, Jake. The phone number I had for him changed, and my messages never reached him. Jake processed this information with the serious expression he wore when solving a particularly challenging math problem. So he didn't leave because of me? The question broke Olivia's heart. No, sweetheart. He never knew about you. If he had, I believe he would have been here. What's he like? Jake asked, curiosity overtaking caution. Olivia chose her words carefully. He's smart like you. He works with computers and technology, and he wants very much to meet you. He's coming for dinner tomorrow, if that's okay with you. Jake thought about it for a moment, then nodded decisively. Okay, but if I don't like him, he can't stay. Olivia laughed, pulling him into a hug. That's fair. The next evening, Olivia cleaned their small apartment until it shone, prepared Jake's favorite lasagna, and changed her outfit 3 times before settling on a simple dress she hadn't worn in years. Jake, unusually quiet, sat at the kitchen table working on a coding project, his way of managing anxiety. When the doorbell rang, they both jumped. Ready? Olivia asked Jake, who nodded solemnly. She opened the door to find Ethan standing there, looking as nervous as she felt. He held a bouquet of flowers and a wrapped package. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. Ethan entered, his eyes immediately finding Jake, who had stood up but remained by the table. For a long moment, father and son simply looked at each other, the resemblance between them striking even to Olivia, who saw it every day. "Jake, this is Ethan," Olivia said. "Your father." "Hi, Jake," Ethan said, his voice gentle. "I've been looking forward to meeting you." Jake studied him with the same intensity Ethan had shown when looking at Jake's photos. "You look like me," he said finally. Ethan smiled. "I was just thinking the same thing." He held out the package. "I brought you something. Your mom mentioned you like building computers." Jake accepted the gift cautiously, unwrapping it to reveal a high-end graphics card, the kind Olivia could never afford. "This is the RTX 4090, Jake exclaimed, his reserve cracking. "These cost like $1,000. "Jake," Olivia admonished gently. "It's okay," Ethan assured her. "I thought it might help with your coding projects." Jake looked up at him with new interest. "You code?" "That's how I started my company," Ethan confirmed. "Maybe I could show you some tricks sometime." The ice broken. Dinner went more smoothly than Olivia had dared hope. Jake peppered Ethan with questions about his work, his company, his life in California. Ethan answered each one patiently, clearly delighted by his son's curiosity and intelligence. Olivia watched them together, emotions warring within her. Joy at seeing Jake connect with his father, fear of what these changes might mean for their carefully constructed life, and something else she wasn't ready to examine too closely when Ethan caught her eye and smiled. After Jake went to bed, Ethan helped Olivia clean up the kitchen.